Hello everyone! Welcome to Team Cognify's YouTube channel. Today, the team will be reacting to a video about Ted Bundy and discussing related psychological concepts. So, let's take a look.
My name is Ted Bundy. I've never spoken to anybody about this. We've never heard of.
He was born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946 to an unwed mother and was partially raised by his grandparents. He moved around the country as a child, eventually landing in Washington State, where his mother married a man named John Bundy. Biographers say he was bright and charismatic. His good looks and charm helped him gain acceptance into political circles.
The guy next door. Your fiance, your husband, your
Okay, so the first thing we just noticed in this was that he was grown up in a normal childhood. He had a normal childhood, unlike Jeffrey Dahmer. He was neglected in his own childhood, but Ted Bundy had a pretty average childhood. So, what do you think? What could be the reason for him for his maladaptive behaviors? Like, why would, if he did not have any childhood trauma, do you think that it could be in his nature? Maybe it could be genetic. Like, I think a few of us have seen some researchers which say that uh, these kind of behaviors can be genetic. So, what are your takes on it?
According to me, I see like three personality traits, which is commonly known as the dark triad.
Hmm.
Personality traits, that is psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellism. So, narcissism is having like a boosted ego and like boosted self-esteem, and psychopathy means engaging in antisocial behaviors, harming others, and Machiavellism is trying to exploit others. That is also related to like antisocial tendencies. So I see these three personality types in him, and according to research, it has shown that these are genetic. Machiavellism is like mostly environmental influence, but narcissism and psychopathy are very genetic. Like the cause is very genetic. So I think this can be like genetics has a major role to play, and also you never know. Like I don't see a stable family setup in his childhood, so that can also be a contributor.
So, you think it was more in his genetics? Cool. Anyone else?
Also, like as mentioned in the video, her mother, like he was raised by her grandparents, and his mother was unwed. So we don't know the father, biological father. So it can, maybe that father must be involved in other criminal activities. So this can transfer the genetics and all.
I also agree with Prakriti, but as we can't really record every experience that he had, so there could be some experiences that have contributed to this behavior.
Did, uh, I did a little bit of research on Bundy, and it's like, yes, his family structure isn't that stable, and there are accounts of his grandfather being abusive. And the fact that he did not know that he thought his mother was his elder sister. That's what their entire family. So if you consider that fact, a major of his killings really started after he discovered that fact and after he was dumped by his ex-girlfriend. So if you really see that there's a whole lot of nurture factors also here about how that it might have been a genetic like inherited trait. Say for example, where he's like psychopathy or narcissism, but there's a lot of factors in his environment that would really accentuate and bring that out. That's my point.
I also wanted to point that out that there were lots of factors in his nurturing environment that could have, promoted his all those behaviors. Like he thought his mother was his elder sister. His father figure was not present, and among all that, also he was also exposed to violence and pornography at a very young age, which kind of showed in his crimes. Like he was very violent with his victims. He was gratifying himself sexually through his victims. So those are also some factors that could have contributed towards his, maladaptive behaviors.
One point I would add is that I was reading about it, and there was a psychologist who interviewed Ted Bundy, and they revealed that he was also going through mania and depression, and all these murders and everything they took place in his depressive state. So, nature and nurture both play a very important role, but yes, the your behavior it is different, and what really goes in your mind plus how it gets manifested is a very different thing. So yes.
And made his way to Florida, where investigators say he claimed six more lives. Once again, it was a traffic violation that brought him down. He was put on trial in which he partially defended himself. Bundy was convicted of murder, but that didn't stop him from trying to carry on with his life.
Will you marry me? Yes. And I hereby marry you. Thank you.
Bundy proposed to Carol Ann Boone in court during the sentencing phase of his trial. They dated before his initial arrest in 1982. With Bundy behind bars, she named him as the father. But the defiant move didn't sway a judge who handed down a death sentence in this case.
Further order that all such scheduled date to be put to death by crime of electricity is sufficient to cause you immediate death.
The punishment has done little to comfort the families he devastated.
Why do you think he only targeted women? I mean, his wife and daughter are still alive. Why do you think that is?
I think maybe because, as Bhavna also mentioned, that he broke up his with his girlfriend, so she dumped him. So that experience could have been one uh, trigger point for him. And think why do I think that his wife and daughter are alive? I think because he was behind the bars when he got to know about that. That's his why.
So my explanation for your question is that Ted, he targeted brunettes and Caucasian women. So I believe that because he was raised by very weird environment where his family projected his real mother to be his sister, and later on in her life she married another man, so they started living as a family. So I think he was not able to grasp those concepts that okay, this is how a family works. And then second thing which Ekansh mentioned, that that his ex-girlfriend broke up with him. So I think that somewhere that thing triggered. And the third point is that his grandfather, so he was a violent man, and all this pornography, like you guys mentioned that he was subjected to pornography at a very young age. While I was reading, the article mentioned that his grandfather was into these kind of things, and he used to torture small animals as well. So I think that is somewhere he had picked that up. And now this is like 21st century, and we are talking about 1970s. So I think that at that time women were also looked as submissive, docile, you know. So I think that would have also played a hand in his thing.
Yeah, makes
Um,
sense. Go on, Pal.
yeah, so Ekansh and Joshita told like the underlying factors why he was targeting women, but the reason why he was able to target so many women was because he was considered conventionally attractive, and that because of that he was able to trap women and assault them and then kill them. So that played a major role. And also I feel that so Freud has this concept of id, ego, and superego. These are the structures of personality. So id is your biological urges, your sexual and aggressive impulses, and superego is your uh, moral processes, your morality, and ego is something that balances your like impulses and your morality and tries to execute them in a realistic manner. So I think his superego, that is his moral component, was not developed enough because he didn't have like a stable family structure, and his socialization wasn't proper to develop that morality in him. So so he was only left with his impulses and executing them in reality. He didn't have like a moral component, so I think that also would have played a role here.
Yeah, so basically the thing is when I was reading like an article about him, the major thing that they explained was that his need to possess and control things. So I feel like because of all the factors that have been like outlined by everybody before, it was directed mostly at women. And I feel like the reason why he didn't kill Boone and his daughter, like once again, he was behind bars, but Boone was like she was there with him even when he was like convicted. She gave a character witness. She was like behind him, and at the end, finally, she was betrayed because she wholeheartedly believed that Bundy was not the man, whoever they were saying he was. So I feel like Bundy was the type of person who just recognized people only for their value of like what he could get from them. And the reason why he kept Boone alive over all of that time is because there's a value in someone who can vouch for you in kind of that way. And the thing is, at the end of everything, he only confessed to his crimes at like the final stretch when he knew that he couldn't prolong it any longer, right? So he was always looking for reasons to put it across to someone, like to push the blame onto someone else for his actions. So I think he was very tactical about who he kept around him and who he trusted. And the thing is, whoever he decided to kill, it was always someone that he did not have like a personal relationship with, that he saw on a day-to-day basis. He identified strangers, and like Prakriti was saying about like the charm, and also just by posing as someone who has some kind of illness or some kind of injury in order to get them. So it's the most majorly it's just trying to possess somebody and being very tactical is what I'd say.
I totally
Uh,
agree with Bhavna.
sure, you go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the reason, like, why he didn't kill his mother and his girlfriend is because he needed like an anchor or like a safe space to, bring him back to reality. So I think that can also be one of the reasons.
Yeah, but like there's always that, but there's also the kind of like mind games that he played with his ex-girlfriend, where after she dumped him, he got all of his power. He studied psychology, and then got he got connections with politicians, and then he went back to her and like introduced her as his fiance to like important people, and then suddenly just cut it all off just to prove that he had that power over her. So it's more of like he has people that he can control. Like that's just what he's looking for in every situation. Okay. We hope you found the video informative and interesting. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. See you next time!